is Popcorn for Breakfast, presented by St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. Now, here are your hosts, Cam and Kurt.
Welcome in, my fellow Popcorn for Breakfastians. Thank you for lending your ears so we can lend you our thoughts on movies and stuff. Today we have a double review, beginning with Barbie, the one and only Mattel legend. From the beginning of time, there have always been two things that have remained: Pink and Barbie. Make no mistake, Barbie existed in the world before we knew what to call her. But what happens, Cam, when Barbie's predictably pink and perfect world isn't so bright and glittery after all?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well,
should I know?
Well, I don't know. Have you seen the movie?
I have. Okay, I do know.
I
do know.
Barbie explores that, of course, in the generations of lives it touches and how Barbie is inside each of us.
Wow. That was like watching a stage show. That was impressive. I feel like I'm at the West End.
Ooh, the West End.
Just, we'll class it up a bit. We'll class the joint up a bit, make it British. That always makes it classier. Everybody knows that.
I'm gonna have a full stage production here. Before we know it, I'm gonna have curtains. I'm gonna have extras just like show up. This is your house, so they'll just appear. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
I had keys copied for them.
Perfect. So yeah, that feels safe. That feels good.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't have as eloquent of words as you as per usual, but I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
Well, Cam, we've got a lot of ground to cover. A lot of ground. So let's get started. It's a double review in honor of Barbenheimer. In case you missed it, Barbenheimer took over the world, and we are all better people because of it. I feel better.
Did it ever? It really did. And yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be alive.
Do you feel changed by the Barbenheimer experience?
I do. I will elaborate more on that later, but okay. I do feel changed. For sure.
Well, as stated, we're going to kick this off with Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig. You may have heard of her. She's directed 3 films now: Lady Bird, Little Women, and Barbie. She's got lots of writing credits besides that with her co-partner, co-writer, co-husband, I don't know, Noah Baumbach.
All of the above.
Lady Bird, Little Women, Barbie. Check it out. And we're just going to we'll go straight through this thing. You ready, Cam?
I'm nervous because you told me we're doing something with the actors that's different. So I prepared more notes for acting, and that makes me feel I don't like when I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. I'm glad that you're scared. I like to keep you on your toes because I like when you throw random stuff at me to see if I can land on my feet.
Yeah, I thought that was like a one-way street, and now it's like it's coming back the other way, and I'm like I'm a little uncomfy. I should say.
Well, do you want to go first? I'm going to set up the rules here in a second, but do you want to go first so then you have the opportunity to seize the day, and then next time when we do Oppenheimer later in this same episode, I'm going to flip the script on you, and I get to go first.
I want to go first on Oppenheimer.
All right, cool.
Can I decide that since I'm like it's like the away team gets to choose the coin flip?
You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah, I want to go first on Oppenheimer, please.
I'll allow it this time, but
okay, next time
I can't guarantee what we're going to do with Haunted Mansion.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Okay, so I'll go first. So we're going to talk about all different categories of acting and production and directors and scores ultimately by the end of this. And part of that is when we choose our favorite actors in our first 2 categories, Cam, if I say an actor, you can't choose them for anything else the rest of this episode. So you have to have lots of people in mind, lots of facts in mind, lots of favorite little tidbits from the movie in mind.
Are there any actors that are in both movies? Is that a potential loophole? No.
I wish there were.
Yeah, I don't think there are.
I've scoured the cast list. I have not seen anything yet.
All right. So if you pick an actor or vice versa, whoever goes first in that category,
yep.
If they pick an actor, they cannot be picked again.
Right. And they can't be picked for the opposite. You're not like, well, the top 2 actors in this film.
I like it. I like it a lot because it's never fun when you're talking about the same people over and over again.
Right.
So it's a little bit more challenging. It's going to keep me engaged.
It becomes static.
It becomes a game. And I love a game.
So I'm going first.
You're going first.
So this is our best actor category, and we lovingly call it, and the Oscar goes to today. Yes. My Oscar goes to, and you can't take it, Cam, Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
The Goslingnator. Is that a thing?
No, but it can be because of the internet.
Goslingnator. Can we have that appear right on our screen?
Is it Goslingnator or the Goslingator?
Gosling Nader. N-A.
That's like so much clunkier. But I like it.
Thank you.
That's the thing now.
I appreciate it.
Hashtag.
Ryan Gosling is a treasure, going all the way back to the new Mickey Mouse Club and R.L. Stein's Goosebumps. He has been so under the radar for so long, and I feel like the first time he got his new notoriety was probably in Drive, was really an awakening.
Oh, man.
Right?
That movie.
All I
so good.
think about is Bryan Cranston's wrist when I think about Drive.
Yes.
It's horrible. It's horrible. But Ryan Gosling in this film does exactly what he needs to do. I love just how every beat of every moment that he gives is absolutely hilarious. Even in his most poignant moments, it's hilarious, which normally I would say, no, I want to see the humanity. His whole humanity rests upon that he is a toy, he is perfect, and no matter what, he is the epitome of comical atmosphere and plastic. And to be able to do that and balance non-egotistical, he's egotistical. You know what I'm saying? He's not throwing it in your face.
Right.
It's like, that's a handsome guy. That's unattainable. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about.
That's kind of his whole ism. You know, he's a very accessible, approachable kind of actor. He plays a lot of characters that you feel like you want to hate them because they're beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how do you get to have everything? But then he breaks down your walls one line at a time.
He does one heartbreaking smile at a time too.
Yep.
Gosh, he's beautiful.
He is.
So it's just perfect. It's pitch perfect. It's spot on. It's everything I wanted. And I did not expect to laugh that much at Ryan Gosling. And I'm so thankful he was cast in this film.
But listen, you say that, but we need to start giving him his props, because I am of the belief, and I've said this multiple times recently, he is one of the best comedic actors that we have going. Mm-hmm. Like, if you've seen The Nice Guys, if you've seen even La La Land, he has some great line reads there. He's got this, like, it's not a deadpan, but he's got great comedic instincts where he knows how to play off of other people, and he totally understands the tone of the movie that he's in at all times. And in this movie, he was absurdly hilarious, but he was so funny in The Nice Guys. Like, I quote that movie all the time, and I think he's hilarious in that movie. So Ryan Gosling as a comedic actor, people don't think it because he's mostly in dramas, but he really, a lot of times in those movies, he's the comedic force. So let's give him his flowers. Good choice.
Check out The Nice Guys too. That is
absolutely.
Cameron told me about this a long time ago. I watched it. I delayed it, and then I watched it, and I said, Cam, this is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life.
It's very recently, hot off the presses. This is perhaps breaking news. It has recently entered my top 4 on Letterboxd. So it's like hallowed ground now, man. Hallowed ground.
Very nice.
It's
Can
sacred.
We get your and the Oscar goes to, Cam?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Barbie herself, Margot. I think the thing about Margot...
Here, take the Barbie.
This Barbie looks like it has seen some better days, but I'm going to go with Barbie, Margot. This is her right here.
Yes.
And I think the thing about Margot is similar to Ryan Gosling, because she is conventionally beautiful and, in a very like blonde-haired, blue eyes kind of way. She was literally called stereotypical Barbie in this movie. I think because of that, people think maybe you might think, oh, she doesn't have range or she doesn't have skill. She's got range and skill out the wazoo, whether it be The Suicide Squad, whether it be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She's turned in so many impossibly awesome roles, and her professionalism when she approaches roles is among the best in the entire industry. She always goes into it very seriously. She does a ton of research. I think about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That performance, she says very little in that movie, but she delivers an unbelievable performance because she's doing it all. And in this movie, she was very, I think if you've watched any of like the press tour stuff, you know that she was very involved in the production side of this movie. Like, she was sort of the engine that made this thing go. And she took that very seriously. And I think that she knows that Barbie is a global brand, and that Barbie, that word, for better or worse, means something to a lot of people. And in not a bad way, in actually a good way, kind of, you could tell that she was wearing that responsibility. Yes. You could tell that she was taking it. She was approaching it with a sense of reverence. She was approaching it with a sense of like professionalism, and she was great. As always, her physicality was awesome. Whenever she did like just how the Barbie on the table just toppled over, she does that in the movie. and kind of like rolls over. And it absolutely kills. It's comedically genius, and she plays it perfectly. And all of it, the emotion of the character, everything that she put into it was really exceptionally well done. So definitely Margot.
I mean, who else could you choose? Those are the top
It
two,
would be
right?
Downright offensive if I chose anybody else, I think.
I'm going to pick Midge, the pregnant Barbie.
I'm going to pick one of the many Kens in the movie is what I'm going to do.
Fun fact about Margot Robbie, because she starred on a Australian soap opera for like 150 episodes. Mm-hmm. She can cry on command.
Yes.
She can do one eye. She can do both eyes. She can well up. She can drop both tears, one tear, one after the other. It's insane.
Yeah.
So I challenge you, Cam. Can you cry on command right
Absolutely
now?
not. Absolutely not. But it's amazing. I've seen Anya Taylor-Joy do the same thing. Mm-hmm. I have no idea how they do it. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
And there's some good, we do spoiler-free reviews on this podcast, but there's some tears at times.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, happy tears, sad tears, I won't say, but at times. And it's powerful stuff.
So your assignment next week is to be able to cry on command.
I'm on it.
Great.
Don't worry about it, Kirk. I'll take care of it, buddy.
That is how we're going to get the listeners to come back for at least one more week. They're going to be looking for that on YouTube. All right. Our next category, Cameron. Mm-hmm. We like to call it scene stealer because while our Oscar goes to someone, there's always someone who, yeah, they're definitely the best actor, but did you catch that guy or that girl? That's what I'm here for. So let's dive into scene stealer. Lots of options. My top pick is Mr. Michael Cera.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I like that one.
You guys know Michael Cera from Arrested Development. You know him from the infamous Juno film and so many other projects. He's incredible. Michael Cera, in this film, there's always something magical when you hate a character collectively, or everyone dismisses a character. Like in How I Met Your Mother, is it Phyllis, right?
Is it Phyllis?
What's her name? Phyllis or
it's Francesca or something like that.
Maybe
something like that.
Someone fact check us, please.
Yeah.
And then, it's Newman, right?
Newman.
In Seinfeld. It's fun to collectively hate a character.
Absolutely.
While the characters on screen hate. So Michael Cera is kind of just like there. They don't necessarily hate him, but they dig on him because he's not like the other Kens. His name is Alan, of all things. And what I love about this is that the humor is so rich, and there is this sense of the actor surrendering to that idea and fully committing to it. And there's nothing stronger in Michael Cera's wheelhouse than surrendering and being super dismissive.
That is right in his pocket. Being a submissible character. That's the Michael Cera pocket right there.
On his resume, it just says, looks defeated all the time. Yeah. Someone stole my Cheerios.
He's the dog at the dog park that's like rolling over on his back anytime another dog comes by. I love that. That's hilarious. In the best way possible.
Yes. And through all of that, there's also this resiliency that he adds into the film at certain times while still being that sad dog that just got kicked. And he knows when to fight back and he knows when not to, without ever losing sight of everyone wants to hate on this guy. He is the oddball out, and he remains the oddball out strictly by just birth. Yep. Michael Cera, and they're just how he weaves in and out. There's these quick cuts to him that just make him shine all through the film. Michael Cera caught my eye, and I was cackling at the top of my lungs every time he showed up.
Yes, very funny, and just like imagine being Ken's friend, not Barbie's friend, Ken's friend. Like it doesn't get much lower than that. It really doesn't. For my scene stealer, I am going for Kate McKinnon, who is who plays Weird Barbie in the movie, and almost like a version of that Barbie. You've seen her in the trailers. The crazy hair looks like Angelica from Rugrats, her doll, Cynthia. Yes. It kind of looks like that, and this movie has tons of laughs from lots of different people, but Kate McKinnon was delivering more laughs per capita than anything I've ever seen. It was hilarious. Her intensity at all times, which is something that she always brings to the table, was there in overtime. And the physical acting could not have been more hilarious from her. I love when people's physicality matches their character. It's like it's the side of acting people don't really think about, but is so important. And when you're a comedian and you can do it, like people think of like Chris Farley, like falling through tables and doing the crazy stuff that he did. Kate McKinnon does some amazing physical acting. She's fantastic. And she was the perfect choice for this character through and through. Her character has an arc and has a story and all of that. And it all goes, she does a fantastic job delivering on all of that. But most of all, she was downright hilarious. Yeah. And I could not stop laughing every time she was on the screen.
Yeah, and much like I challenged you to cry on command next week, Cameron, Kate McKinnon does a lot of splits in this film.
Please stop. I don't want any more challenges, Kirk. I'm not signing up for any challenges.
Well, I've got this microphone, and I'm going to ask you to do it, and this is an improv exercise.
Yeah.
So next week, crying on command.
Okay.
Lots of splits.
Do I have to do them at the same time? I probably will. Maybe, Kirk. Maybe the way that I make myself cry on command is by doing the splits.
You've cracked the code.
There it is.
You've cracked
actually
the code.
Just gave me a loophole, so I appreciate that.
See, when Margot Robbie cries on camera, we only see her face, but she's doing rapid splits.
That's it. That's the key. That's the unlock. All right.
Oh my goodness.
In that case, challenge accepted. I'll take it.
Excellent. Well, that would be quite the showstopper to see, Cam. But I want to talk about the showstopper and production value in Barbie.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that I'm going to take, and let's see, we didn't put any rules on the showstopper, just the actors.
That's all right. Let's not.
No?
At least not for now. I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared.
Next week, more homework.
Sheesh.
Next week. I'm going to keep you on your toes forever. My showstopper today goes into the opening sequence from the very first beat up until we meet the real world. So there is a Barbie world and there's a real world in this film. I won't go any farther than that, but that whole section is just absolutely exquisite. And we get to see everything you see in the movie, the Barbie slide, how Margot Robbie flies off of the roof, all of her accessories, her Barbie accessories, how her and her other Barbie friends and Ken friends move through the Barbie world. We get about, like a half a dozen different sets that we see before we ever hit the real world, and their demeanor, their dialogue, their interactions with each other, the axis of action is very clear, and it's very, very, very fun to watch. I was having some of the most fun I've ever had at a movie theater watching that first half hour of this film. As we know, there was a pink shortage because of the Barbie production.
Right.
And it shows. Like, there's so much rich and vibrant pinks, and they're all different shades, and it just like fills this world. And it blew my mind that they could make it look like we had shrunk down and we were in Barbie's dream home.
Mm-hmm. It is remarkable. Like the production design, the set design, particularly in Barbie Land, is unreal.
Yeah,
it's unreal. It's something that will stick with you. That you'll remember it even after you've seen the movie. So I think that's a great choice.
Thank you. And
all right.
Yours,
my showstopper. I'm going to go with the comedy. I did just tease it a little bit, and you certainly teased it with Ryan Gosling, but. If you're a listener to the program for many years now, you've probably heard me talk about how I feel like comedy is a dying genre in the traditional sense, meaning that movies that are solely comedies are few and far between these days, and the ones that come out just aren't good. We had this amazing golden age of comedy in the late 90s, early 2000s, where there were all these hilarious movies, so many great actors that were doing it. Obviously Adam Sandler comes to mind, all the way up to Steve Carell with 40-Year-Old Virgin, into The Hangover with Zach Galifianakis, and there's so many great comedies. Will Ferrell, I mean, my gosh, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, and that just doesn't really exist anymore. And so where you have to go for comedy these days is movies actually, oddly enough, the MCU for a long time was sort of the comedy source for people, and I think that's why those movies had such mass appeals, because they were funny,
right?
Something that is much maligned by certain fans. Or movies like The Nice Guys, and movies like this movie that's not a comedy by its nature, but it's technically a drama even, but has so much of a comedic element. And I think that this movie just really, when you're in Barbie Land, you have to keep things ultra light. Otherwise, it's going to start to feel ridiculous if people are taking themselves too seriously. And this movie balanced that really well because they were tackling some like heavy social topics, which I think everybody sort of expected going into this movie, but they kept the comedy coming. They were driving it the whole time. It was genuinely funny. Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach are phenomenal writers, and so the jokes were not cheap. They were earned, and it just worked. It worked, and I was laughing my butt off like throughout the movie all the time, and everybody in my theater was doing the same thing. So the comedy is my showstopper, bar none.
It was so funny, top to bottom. Like, so funny. I mean, I haven't had many experiences, like you said, from movies like in the early 2000s, some of the last greatest comedies. Maybe it's because we're millennials, but,
Yeah.
but I haven't had moments like that where I just like kept laughing and kept hearing my voice carry on. And then I was like, oh, am I laughing too hard? I don't know about this, but I was really enjoying myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so key. I think the staying power of movies so often relies on that because people want to feel good more often than not, unless you're like me and you watch like Marriage Story over and over again.
Yes.
but most people, normal people with good mental health, like to laugh. And that's something that will give this movie some rewatchability, which I think is an important part in most cases of a movie's value
And staying power, rewatchability, all that. Now, let's dog on this movie, Cam.
Let's do it.
I want to throw it against the wall. I want it to just
rough it up,
drip down with this just pain. I didn't say like blood, but
you inferred it.
All right,
or you insinuated it.
And then I want to vacuum it. Then I want to dump it in the trash can.
Wow.
With my director's shoes. So strap in. There's a lot of messiness to the second half of this movie for me. A lot of messiness in once we get a sneak peek at the real world, which I love the antithesis to the Barbie world and the real world. I love it and how it looks, how it feels, and then there's lots of other things that happen that I can't tell you on the spoiler-free review, but it got very messy. Most of all, it was messiest with the different themes it wanted to present. I felt like I could never grasp onto a main theme because they had so many supporting themes fighting for that number one spot. And it's fine, like a supporting theme can come in and take the spotlight and then step back, but this one, they had so many strong supporting themes that you never could tell which way are we going? And that got messy for me. Even though all the themes were good, like there's no wrong theme that they were trying to do. It just got overcrowded for me. Some of the improv scenes as well. I think they were improv. Some of the extended comedy got a little bit too freeform. And I've talked about that before this, where the director needs to say, all right, that was fun, but it's not going in the movie, and just cut it out on the editing floor, and the actor will never know. They'll never remember how much improv that was dropped out. I think some of the cameos were wasted, and then the final thing I'll tell you that the jokes were funny, the comedy was good, but there is one excruciatingly secondhand embarrassment joke near the end of this film that just no one laughed at in my theater. It was just awful. And I can't even tell you what it is because I don't want to ruin
I know,
it
now I'm trying to jog my memory, but you'll have to tell me off air.
I will. And if you all want to know, you can email us at popcornforbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com, and then I'll just tell you via email because it's 2023. And those are my things. They're wrapped up. I could go on for a while on those, but the biggest one, it was messy with the theming, and I never got a home run with where Greta wanted to take us specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with some of that. I think that it got a little ambitious, a little big for its britches, which is hard whenever you're making a movie about this. I think like I feel this way sometimes when I analyze a movie. I want to talk about every single thing that happens. So when you're making a movie, you're like, I want this movie to be about every single thing. And there was some stuff that they kind of like picked up but didn't bring it across the finish line. And some of that stuff was really rich too. So it was kind of a bummer not to see the follow through, but I agree with that. I think my director shoes is that this movie is a satire. But I wish it would be a little bit more subtle of a satire because I think the effect of it would have been that much more rich. And I know that the definition of satire is absurd and kind of like brazen and in your face and loud, but you can lose people who are maybe on the other side of your perspective. And I think that they push really hard. And so the movie loses some of its effectiveness because some people who are not down with the theming that's going on, they're going to check out and be like, this is offensive to me. They're reducing my side of the argument or what have you. I just felt like, not necessarily that I had that experience, but I'm like, wow, this is a really heavy-handed satire. And I think that in some ways they felt that it had to be that way. And I actually expected it to be definitely a satire going into it, but it was a pretty like over the top type of thing. And I think that, of course, if you're ever in the situation where you're watching a movie and you feel like this doesn't align with my personal beliefs, I should just share this first. It's okay. It's okay because movies represent somebody else's perspective. And the first thing that I would recommend doing if you find yourself in that situation is to think about why does this make me feel this way? Because what a movie is someone else's perspective. Mm-hmm. It is at least the director and writer's perspective of things. And because of that, it's probably a lot of other people's perspective too, because it's very rare that like you have an opinion that is just your own and nobody else holds it. So I have seen a lot of chatter on the internet about, after seeing the movie, about people thinking like, oh, I don't agree with this movie. And I would just say that you can not agree with the movie and still like it, or you can not agree with the movie and then go on a journey to say, why do I not agree with this? But I think that they could have been, and I'm trying so hard to stay like spoiler free. You can probably see it in my eyes. But I think that if you go more subtle, when you have good, strong writers like Greta and Noah are fantastic writers, like I said, you can go more subtle, and then you're like planting a sleeper agent that the person realizes later. They're like, oh, this is what they were saying, and oh man, I actually agree, or whatever. I just think that themes can be more effective if they're more thoughtfully cloaked.
Yes.
And in this movie, I didn't feel like they even really tried to do that. They just were like, this is our message, and boom, here it is. And you can either get with it or get out, and that's fine. But for me, I would like to see something a little bit more thoughtful in the approach and fresher in the approach.
And I think that there were times when they did it.
Yes, I agree.
But not consistently.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally hear where you're coming from, and I can hear the lines, and I can see the scenes in my head like, oh yeah, that was, they're like dropping little breadcrumbs. But more times than not, they went for, the whole loaf of bread, dropping it on your lap, and you're like, all right, I'm listening, but where are we going? And do I agree with that? Do I not? But excellent point on, if that comes in, just start to listen to what they're saying, listen to your own norms and mores and beliefs, and say, any room for adjustment here? A little? Some? None? And then move on with your life.
I mean, I've had films change my perspective on stuff a lot. And it's one of the things I really like about it is that like a lot of times if you're just stuck in your own, we all build our own little algorithmically generated comfort zones. And if you're just stuck in that feedback loop and you never get out of it, then your thoughts start to become a little bit crazy. And I think that it's good to watch movies because it will expand your scope. Movies that are done really well can lower your defenses and then say, what do you think about this? And you can look at it with fresh perspective. This movie didn't try to lower anybody's defenses. It was just like, boom, like wrecking ball. We're going in. And
it's true.
That's what it is. So
that's true. That's what Jim Carrey's The Truman Show did for me, but it had the opposite effect. I just now think that I am on a TV show.
Now you're just paranoid. Exactly. Nice job. Thanks, Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Not in an egotistical way, like, oh, look at me. Like, oh no, everyone is looking at me. This is terrifying. And,
right.
So that's my life right now.
I feel that. I have one other really tiny director shoes, which is that the set design is absolutely gorgeous and I love it, but we stay in one area of Barbie Land for very long periods of time.
Yeah.
And it starts to feel a little soundstagey, and it starts to mess with the suspension of disbelief. And that's a shame because it is so gorgeous.
Yeah. I
just wish they had done like maybe a couple other little modules of Barbie Land. Again, budget, whatever. I don't know all the inner machinations of that, but I did start to feel a little claustrophobic when we were staying in one area, and it was like, okay, I've seen this camera angle 30,000 times now. Let's do something else.
Yeah, we were in a cul-de-sac for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time, for extended periods of time. So
we wanted to see the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get our final thoughts and scores out there, because this is the time where we can throw in any other random thing that we want, or just say, I've said all I had to say, and I'm just going to give you my score. So my final thoughts for Barbie is that collectively, overall, is the movie rewatchable? Yes. Is the movie fun? Absolutely. Do I feel moved or changed by it? No. Did I generally like the movie? Yes. And I'm going to ask you these exact same questions.
I'm like, hold on.
Just one by one. I'm making them up right
time.
now, but I'm going to remember all of them in about 30 seconds.
Of course. Of course.
So my subjectivity to the film is that it was very well done. It was very well crafted. The things that bothered me enough to not put this in like a top tier rating, but I am happy I saw it. I'm happy I saw it in Barbenheimer forever. I'll get to tell my kids, Barbenheimer, I was there, with the eye patch, hopefully. And my final score for this comes to 6.0 out of 10 kernels.
All right. Good score. I think for me, this movie had a lot of potential left on the in sports when they say leave it all on the field or leave it all on the court.
Yeah.
They didn't leave it all on the court. I felt like there was some potential that they left untapped, whether it be just because sometimes you alluded to it, you're just having so much fun making a movie. And it's like, oh, this is so great, and everybody's having a good time, and you forget that, like, yes, you guys are all friends, but you also have to make the best story possible. And at times it felt like that with the improv and some of the stuff that you alluded to, and so it's like, man, I love the set design, I love the cast. I thought there were so many great little performances, and like I could have sat here and named scene stealers for the better part of the night. I loved the dialogue. A lot of the dialogue was so sharp, so smart. They had tons of good themes. It was a little over ambitious. It was a little bit loud. But I mean, overall, I really had an awesome time watching the movie. Honestly, I don't know how rewatchable it is. I think I would really enjoy watching it like on TV as like a background movie, but not necessarily like actively watching it again. I don't know. I struggle with that, but I thought it was really well made. I can't say that it's a great film, but it's so freaking close, man. Like they just had to nail a few more things and make things a little bit tighter. Stuff like staying in one place for long periods of time really bothers me because it just feels like there's no dynamic contrast happening, especially when the whole set is like pink, you know? So I'm giving a 7.9, which is, I think, a really great score. Yeah. Doesn't cross that 8 threshold for me, but I thought that they did a great job with it.
Amazing score. 6.0, 7.9. That is the review for Barbie. If you're still listening, which we know you are, because you come here for Barbie and you're staying for Oppenheimer review here in just a little bit. But before we do, we have a wonderful, incredible premier sponsor that we want to thank today for making all of this happen. We've revamped our studio, we've revamped our lives,
yes,
and it's all because of St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. So, without further ado, I want to tell you about them. Whether you're trying to meet your daily nutritional needs, staying strong, helping others reach their goals, or simply trying a sweet treat. Which, have you tried that like pineapple-y thing over there? It's really
I've tried
good.
all the things, Kirk. If it sounds fruity and delicious, I have had it, and it is fruity and delicious.
There's like a strawberry tart one that my son gets a lot, and that's really delicious. Unlike the one you were talking about, what was it?
Oh, the watermelon, extreme watermelon lemonade. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I hate that it's only here for a limited time. It makes me angry, but I understand.
My problem is a lot of times with Smoothie King, and problem is a bad word, but my problem is that I want all the sweet treats, but I go for the meal replacements. So
yes,
I always take my kids. They don't get the meal replacements, so I get to have a full meal and dessert immediately.
Perfect.
Together. So you can too. Just buy 2 smoothies every time you go if you don't have a kid to monopolize on their smoothies. So whatever your purpose is, be sure to choose Smoothie King. Select from delicious smoothies in 3 different sizes to suit your lifestyle. Choose ingredient add-ons like Gladiator, Lean 1 Protein, or organic fruits and veggies, or any other nutritional enhancers so that you can rule the day. And that watermelon smoothie. Limited time. Make sure you get it. Extreme watermelon smoothie. It's got this delicious juice blend, coconut water, sweetened strawberries. And for that tart, refreshing twist, like we said, try the extreme watermelon lemonade.
And it is
smoothie.
tart and refreshing. I will say that.
And watermelon-y and lemonade-y, and it's absolutely smooth.
And nothing says watermelon like summer. That's what I always say, Kirk. Instead of nothing says summer like watermelon.
I like
you know
nothing
me.
says.
You know how I always say nothing says watermelon like summer. That's what I say.
You heard it first,
all
everybody.
the time.
So again, we want to thank you from our wonderful, wonderful sponsors, St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. You can find them directly at either of their currently two locations. We can find them in East Belleville at 660 Carlisle Avenue. Punch it into your Apple Maps right now. Or in Granite City at 3401 Namioki Road in Granite City for incredible service to start your smoothie journey today.
Love it.
Should we switch gears to Oppenheimer?
And what a gear switch it is, Kirk. As someone who performed this gear switch in real time over the course of 24 hours, I went the other way. I went from Oppenheimer to Barbie, and they're different in tone and overall messaging.
Yes.
You know, Barbie's like ultra light. Oppenheimer, this is not a spoiler, is like ultra not light.
Yeah.
It's the other side. And there was this experience I had after seeing Oppenheimer, which was the same night that Barbie came out, and we're leaving the theater, and everything's in slow motion, and my ears are ringing like I've just been shell-shocked, and I see a bunch of people walking by leaving Barbie at the same time, like they've just come from a Taylor Swift concert, and they're like high-fiving and laughing it up and having a great time, and I'm like, you know, having this, you know, dystopian experience, this existential crisis.
Yeah.
It was quite a thing. It really was.
And both movies present their own existential crisis,
They do.
which is only fitting that in the middle of all of that, we are also having it outside the theater.
It vaults you directly into an existential crisis, which is great.
Now, if we saw Oppenheimer then Barbie, would it be safe to say that we celebrated Oppenheimer this weekend?
I don't know. My brain's not ready to process that. I only know Barbenheimer. I saw that Letterboxd. God love them.
Yeah.
I love Letterboxd. They're fantastic. They're amazing. But their social media team posted something. I guess I don't know. Did somebody trademark Barbenheimer or something? Like,
Oh, probably.
that quickly. They were like, if you're going to see both this weekend, tag it Boppy.
What?
I was like, and everybody in the comments was like, hold on. There's like a generally accepted term for this. Why are you trying to introduce Boppy? And it was hilarious.
Boppy. Oh, I got to look this up.
Yeah, you got to look up the post. It was hilarious. I don't know if they've deleted it, but it was so funny. It was like classic social media at its best.
Letterboxd. Well, before we switch gears, I want to talk about the synopsis of Oppenheimer. But before I can, Cameron, I have to change clothes. So
Yeah.
you can
Sure.
talk about whatever you want. I'm going to go out. Well, I'm going to tell the listeners that I'm changing on camera,
Yeah.
but our YouTube people to get them to YouTube. But I'm going to change clothes, and you can just do with that what you want.
Here's what I'll talk about. Once we buzz into once we buzz through the Oppenheimer review, we're going to do a new segment called Podium, where we are going to choose, you know, like an Olympics podium, a top 3, and our subject for Podium this week is going to be Chris Nolan films. So we're going to talk about a Chris Nolan film in Oppenheimer, and then we are going to do a podium of Chris Nolan films. So be sure to stick around for that. We didn't plug it in the intro. This is all very new, but we're going to get there. Hello. Why do you have a screwdriver in your mouth?
That's not a screwdriver, Cam.
Oh, I have to use the cinema of my mind to imagine it as a pipe?
That's my smoking pipe.
Does he smoke a pipe in the movie?
I have no idea.
It's like the Mandela effect. I feel like he does, but I don't actually know.
I think he does, because I think he has prominent mouth openings when he smokes his pipe, either on a hillside in the mountains.
He does wear many of these.
Little tweed jacket.
Little tweed jacket. You're gonna get tetanus from that screwdriver, by the way. Now that you've, so good luck with that. Good luck explaining that one to your doctor. That's gonna be fun.
Thank you. I was smoking a screwdriver, Phillips,
As one does.
Well, you know, I don't want to get blocked from social media. I can't smoke on camera, and I don't smoke, so The screwdriver was the first thing I found in your house in the other room.
It's good. You're, as I always say, my Casa's screwdriver is yours.
Yes, you do say that.
I say that all the time.
All the time. So let's get into Oppenheimer.
Let's do it. And I get to go first.
Well, before we do,
yeah,
let me set the stage with the synopsis.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, are you ready, Cam?
Yes.
I want you to close your eyes.
Doing it.
Literally.
Done.
Okay, good. I'm going to keep mine open, but you close your eyes.
Are you going to rob me? Are you going to pick my pockets? What's happening?
Well, I had not considered that, but now I am thinking of it. Thank you for the idea. Are your eyes closed, Cam?
They are.
Etched in our minds, we can all see the atomic bomb mushroom cloud over Hiroshima, Japan.
Oh my gosh.
Zoom out, and that picture is on the page of our history books. Zoom out again, and we can see a black and white photo of a very thin man. And under his picture is written J. Robert Oppenheimer, father of the atomic bomb. Zoom out once more, and this time it's on the incredible 52-foot by 72-foot frame of an IMAX movie theater screen. This is where we meet the man who orchestrated it all, Oppenheimer. Christopher Nolan's latest film explores...
Can I open my eyes now?
Oh, no, keep them closed.
I'm sorry.
No, absolutely not.
I'm sorry.
For the rest of this time of recording, nothing. Christopher Nolan's... Where was I? Christopher Nolan's latest film explores the billions of atoms that built an ordinary man who was able to execute an extraordinary thing, and out of all of the fame and opportunities and consequences, he had to go through all of it. This is Oppenheimer.
I opened my eyes 30 seconds ago, but so I'm sorry about that, first of all.
I forgive you.
This is like what you're doing is like when they introduce movies at the Oscars that are Best Picture. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that for you, and I love that for us. So that's good.
This is my audition. I'm going to submit this to the Academy.
It's a darn good one, Kirk. All right, let's do this thing.
Let's do it. And you get to go first this time, which puts me at a disadvantage because, again, we cannot share actors.
Right.
At the beginning. So
you
tell
are
me,
so screwed.
Dang it.
It's over for you.
I wrote a lot of notes, so I hope you don't pick either one of these people. How about you lead us off now with the best actor, which is, and the Oscar goes to.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cillian Murphy, which is a surprise to absolutely no one who listens to this show, because you know that for a long while now I've been singing the praises of Cillian Murphy. I think he's a fantastic actor. He, of course, plays the titular role of J. Robert Oppenheimer. He does a absolutely superb job of depicting the life of someone who lives in their own head and is tortured by their own thoughts, ambitions, regrets, everything. And, someone who is, I think, J. Robert Oppenheimer genuinely doesn't know who he is. I think some people just kind of go through life that way, just don't know who they are and are constantly trying to figure out who they are. And he depicts that in this movie in such a beautiful way, oftentimes without actually speaking, but just by the way that he kind of moves his eyes around, the way that he's kind of just generally looks kind of haunted by his own mind. And sometimes people who are cursed with brilliance and genius are kind of like that.
Like you?
No, not even remotely close. Inside my head, it's just like whatever TikToks I watched last night as I was trying to fall asleep. But yeah, he does a fantastic job of doing that. Everybody who's ever analyzed a Cillian Murphy performance has said this, but I will say it anyway. His eyes are unbelievable storytelling eyes. They seem to go on forever. They seem to peer into your soul. It just is worth saying. And the movie is non-linear, and it's jumping between times. And sometimes people don't think of that through the lens of the actor, but oftentimes, the shots would be in the same location, but many, many years apart on the timeline. And that can be very difficult because those shots were probably done close together, but he has to know where his character's at with the knowledge that he has, what has happened, and be consistent with that. And I thought he was miraculously consistent. You just know where J. Robert Oppenheimer is in his mind and in his journey most of the time in this movie. And I think that in general, this, on a personal note, as somebody who has really enjoyed watching this actor perform over the years, this is way overdue, whether it be whatever, Peaky Blinders, A Quiet Place 2, Red Eye, the Chris Nolan Batman series, all of the amazing roles that he's had. He's never had a big title role, which is crazy. And this was it. It's eons overdue. But I don't think it'll be the last time. And I think that he could be nominated for an Oscar for this performance.
Easily.
I really do.
Easily. That, obviously, I would have picked Cillian if I could have, mostly because he's Irish, I'm Irish, so it just like goes without saying.
Yeah, sure.
And it is incredible. Another Christopher Nolan film he's in is Inception, of course.
Oh, yes.
And does an incredible job in that role. It's so seamless to him, and it is really baffling why we haven't had him in such a title role. And I hope that this sparks it all, where he just gets all the title roles.
Yes, yeah, it'd be great.
His way.
I'm ready for it.
So excellent choice. I can't pick him, but I would have. Let the record show.
Take that.
My Oscar goes to Mr. RDJ Robert Downey Jr. How can you watch this film and not just be glued to him? This is one of his second, maybe third outing aside from the MCU, in his MCU era. I mean, there was The Judge, there was Dr. Dolittle, and
that's top tier cinema right there.
Oh my goodness. And then AFI Top 100 forever, I think. And this movie comes in such a special time for him. He's been very public with his experience on Oppenheimer about how it's the greatest movie he's ever done, which that sparked some controversy with fans.
Yeah.
And it's something that really pulled him in a new direction that he hadn't either been in a while or explored in a while. There's little things that he does that immediately tell you from the moment we meet him in this role, he is... The way he pulls down his jacket when he first meets Oppenheimer. I mean, it's like this little tug as his jacket's pulled in. It's so perfect. I was like, yes, he knows exactly what he's doing. Robert Downey Jr. is gone, and we are watching the character that he's playing. I love that he was this thin, frail man because we've seen him in all of his muscle and glory for so long. So he completely transformed his body, which not necessary for a role, but impressive every time someone does it. His role, his prep was from Christopher Nolan, which I also read, was to watch Amadeus. And yes. And so he had to study a specific role in there that I can't display right now, a couple of different relationships in there. And if you know Amadeus, the Academy Award-winning picture, and you've seen Oppenheimer, then you know exactly what we're talking about here, and you'll draw the lines, connect the dots, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And while his role as Iron Man is iconic and pitch perfect, we haven't seen him immersed in a role like this since he was in Chaplin, which was in like 1990, which was, if you've seen it, absolutely perfect, absolutely incredible, immersive. And this is his next role like that. So I sincerely appreciated watching him just fall completely into this world of this character and not be not trying to play his old tricks. Every beat of this, he was spot on. He was focused, and he was not Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, we just talked about Oscar. That's another nominee for you.
There.
I honestly, it's early, but yeah.
Can you imagine if we get to the Oscars and it's Barbie and Oppenheimer?
Dude,
with all the nominees?
That would be awesome.
Robert Downey Jr. and Ryan Gosling up against Best Supporting.
Can you imagine? Oh, man, that would be sick.
Oh, gosh. Well, tell us about your scene stealer who stole the show for you in this film.
It's another actor that I like to talk about a lot. And I think when we reviewed A Quiet Place Part 2, I had this same duo in reverse. It's Emily Blunt. I love Emily Blunt. I think she's criminally underrated. I think she has range galore. But all that being said, I thought this movie was right in her pocket. And it's like, if you love a really good band and you see them play all their hits, you're like, this is great. You like their experimental stuff. You like when they go out of their range. But when they're in their pocket, they're just like delicious. And Emily Blunt was right there. She does this thing. She can play this particular like fierce defender of personal code kind of character. Someone who has a deep personal code, and it doesn't really matter what else is about them. They have a list of rules that they abide by, and she's so good at playing characters like that. And her character, Kitty, in this movie is exactly that. has a lot of different things going on, but she has rules, dang it. And she's going to stick by them no matter what. And she doesn't care if there is what she would classify as a wrongdoing. She's going to fight fiercely against it throughout. And man, was she just a force to be reckoned with on screen. Absolutely love Emily Blunt. I think she's fantastic. She deserves all the accolades. And she didn't get like ultra screen time, but her role is so important in this movie. I would nominate her for an Oscar for it. I thought it was unreal and is like a huge part of the emotional payoff in this movie and is very necessary. So I thought Emily Blunt was spectacular.
She was so good. Yes. It's just that simple. Like when you come to this movie, just keep your eyes on her because she will light up the screen. Bravo. My scene stealer. I've got a pivot here.
Yeah, take that.
Yeah, how dare you? I'm 0 for 2. I made these rules as well. So what if we picked an old friend? I want to take you back to the late 90s and early 2000s with a friend of mine called Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, yes. This is good. This is good, Kirk.
Yeah. If you would have told me back in the day that the actor from The Faculty with the aliens, Pearl Harbor with all that hair, Black Hawk Down with all that hair, 40 Days and 40 Nights, Hollywood Homicide with Harrison Ford, that made me want to commit homicide because it was such a terrible movie. I watched that start to finish. It was awful. If you would tell me that he would one day be in a potential Oscar-nominated film, I would call you a fool. I would absolutely call you a fool. But he does the same thing that all of these other incredible actors that we've mentioned already are doing. Christopher Nolan has the magic. He knows how to speak to his people. He knows how to give them constructive criticism. We've heard like tidbits in the news, and none of it's ever like, what are you doing? It's always like, there's more in you. And then he like walks away mysteriously. And then they're like, oh crap, he's right. There is more in me. So whatever the way he draws people out in order to challenge themselves, he's doing it at just an expert level that no one else can do. I mean, Josh Hartnett, who has disappeared since Hollywood Homicide, effectively and thankfully, and he's back, and I just loved everything that he did. He's moving his glasses. I mean, when he starts to move his face in like a contemptive way, when he's like having a little tiff with the other professors at the university or in the Oppenheimer build site, he's doing this smug look like, well, I don't know. And it doesn't look like Josh Hartnett is at all. It looks like someone has possessed his body, and it looks like, I don't know, like
Richard Gere.
Richard Gere.
Well, I can't take credit for that. Somebody tweeted right after I saw Oppenheimer, I got on Twitter to like read the Oppenheimer tweets, and somebody tweeted, "Did Chris Nolan just turn Josh Hartnett into prime era Richard Gere?" And I was like, yes, he did. And I'm sorry I don't know who tweeted it because it was an amazing thought. But yes, that's it.
I will never watch that movie again because I can't now because I don't want to see Richard Gere, but I'm replaying it in my mind and it's absolutely Richard Gere.
It's spot on, dude. It's spot on.
Oh, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was so impressed. I love it when actors have a comeback story. Obviously, we all know Brendan Fraser with his comeback and resurgence, and I hope that this is something similar for Josh Hartnett.
Let's do it. He deserves it.
He's the one. He
was almost Batman, for God's sake. He was almost the Christian Bale Batman.
Which I'm glad he was not.
Christian Bale was amazing.
There was no one better.
Amazing.
No one better. All right, so now that the actors are out of the way, we're back to showstopper for Oppenheimer.
Yeah, for me, and this is crazy. Like this is the thing that absolutely like floored me about this movie. It's the chronology of events that happens in this movie. I have not read American Prometheus, so I don't know exactly how it goes, but I have to imagine it's a lot more linear than this movie was, because this movie is absolutely unhinged with the chronology. But the key is it's perfect. The editing is immaculate, and in the order they decided to go in to tell this story in this like hodgepodge, like patchwork quilt way, is not a patchwork quilt. It's extremely intentional. It's extremely thoughtful, like in ways that I didn't really realize until much, much later. I'm actually really glad that I had time to sit with this movie and kind of live with it in my mind for a while. but the chronology is insane. And it's funny to me because we were actually talking with Stefano around Oscar time last year, PFB contributor Stefano, and we were kind of maligning like biopics, like, man, they're so formulaic, and you just feel like you've seen them all, and they always get nominated for Oscars, so people are going to keep making them, blah, blah, blah. And in many ways, it's very true. But this movie's a biopic, and let me tell you, this movie absolutely spits in the face of that formula.
Yeah.
It says, no, sir, this is a story. It may be a true story, sure, but this is a story, dang it, and I'm going to tell it the best way this story can be told. And somehow, the way that Chris Nolan decided to do it was it. That was the perfect way to tell it. And it's a 3-hour movie, and it absolutely hums. I think it absolutely flies. And it's because of the way that they decided to piece this thing together. I thought it was remarkable.
Yeah. Thinking back to that 3-hour time mark, I just saw Mission Impossible 7. You had a perfect week. I had I don't know, an amoeba.
Better luck next time, buddy.
I finally got to see it. 3 movies in 1 week in the theater, and that was a 3-hour movie. It's like 6 minutes shy, and that feels like a 3-hour movie.
The third act of that, little mini review here, the
Yes.
third act of that thing really kind of, it feels long.
Yes.
It just does. It slams on the brakes a little bit.
And you're sitting in Oppenheimer, and the credits start to roll, and you're like, wait, where am I?
You feel like you just woke up. You're like, huh? You have to get like reacquainted with
Yes.
reality.
The lights come on, and it's, no, give me more.
Yes,
Killian, come back to me.
So true.
So yeah, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. My showstopper is in a very specific technique that had to happen for the filming of this movie. This is insane because there are, in playing with time, and in order to show us different stages of time, there's different color hues, color filters, and one of those is black and white. And since this was all on IMAX and 70 millimeter, the black and white sequences required the creation in 2022, if you will, for when they started filming, required the creation of a new type of film stock.
Awesome.
That's insane.
That's amazing.
You know, I think about movies, and I think about like, oh yeah, people, it's easy to do digital. Some people like to do half and half, and you can kind of see it. Some people only shoot on film. But this was
So 70 millimeter black and white, that was the new stock?
specifically for I'm sorry.
Oh, for IMAX.
For IMAX. So instead it was they had to produce a 65 millimeter black and white film.
65 millimeter.
Film reel. And it was done through, of all people, our friends at Kodak.
Yeah, man.
Because they somehow exist past
Absolutely.
disposable cameras. In my mind, that's all where they go. So that fact alone really just caught me off guard. I was like, wait a second. This incredibly mounted film created new film technology.
Yes.
With old technology, if you will, because so many people, it's so much easier to do digital, cut, drop, delete, whatever. And this is the way that Christopher Nolan is going. And it shows, like, it's new, but it's of the old school of film where the classics are made. And this film, it's always, hard when you say like, oh, that's going to be a classic, but there's no doubt in my mind that people will see this in 30 years and be like, Oppenheimer is a classic.
Yep.
It's that simple. So
absolutely.
That's my showstopper.
Good point.
Facts. Well, Cam, now I want you to slam Oppenheimer against the wall.
All right, I'll try my best. It's a formidable opponent. To be honest, I feel nitpicky here, I would say. In general, the third act comes very close to losing us, right in the sort of transition point into the third act, because there's all these character dynamics being laid out, but there's also this, there's this giant, event that we're building up towards. And so when you have to transition back into the character stuff and kind of visit some of those things, even though they've been going on in the background the whole time and it's all relevant, it feels like a pretty significant gear shift. And it's almost like, it's like Chris Nolan's like got us on the edge of our seat, and then he moves us back, and he's like, all right, I gotta get you back there. I gotta get over that hill and get you back to the point of where it feels like, a climax point of the movie. And you can feel the tension of that, the pull of like, all right, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Stay with me. He never lost me, but I could see how some others might be, depending on your expectation of the film and just depending on how you're enjoying your time watching the movie. I think that if you're like, oh man, like they lost you somewhere in the story, you're going to be like, this is horrible in the final act.
Right.
And it wasn't that way for my personal experience. I thought it was great, but I could see how it was like real close to reach, like it was really pressure testing itself. And it didn't, the levee didn't break, but it was close. So that's my director's shoes.
That's very good. That's very good. My director's shoes goes into the first 7 to 10 minutes of this film. I was highly worried about the rest of the film. The first 7 to 10 minutes, it's trying to lay out those different places in time and how we're gonna be constructed throughout as we go. And that part of the film was the most rushed. You do need a good momentum at the start of a film, especially like this, that's 3 hours long. However, it was the only part where I felt like I didn't know where I was because we needed a little bit more time on each of them to establish how we were going to receive this film. So until we get to a very peculiar meeting with Sir Kenneth Branagh, I don't really know which way is up or down. And that's when I felt like, okay, I get it now. But until that moment, 7 to 10 minutes in, I was very, very confused and probably will be for the rest of my life as I rewatch this film. I have forever been reprogrammed that I do not know where I am. So that is my director's shoes.
Love it. Well, shall we?
I want to get our final thoughts and score. Cameron, lay it on us.
Yeah, I think Chris Nolan talks a lot about his influences. I like to watch stuff on Chris Nolan. I think he's one of the best going. Not this movie notwithstanding, whatever. I think that he is one of the best actors out there, or best directors out there. And a director he often talks about in his influences is Stanley Kubrick, who I love. I think Stanley Kubrick. What I love about a Kubrick movie is that he just tries to make his movies about everything, and sometimes he fails. But when he succeeds, it's like, yo, it's like, that was awesome. Like 2001: A Space Odyssey, I think of like that movie as being like head explosion moment. And this movie felt like watching a Kubrick movie. It really did. I think on so many different levels, it felt like watching a Kubrick because Chris Nolan was just like, gosh darn it, I'm just going to make it about every possible thing it could be about. And I'm just going to find a way to make it come together because there's just too much good material here. There's so much commentary, and he took a viewpoint. He did. I mean, he really did take a stance on where, how he feels about all this. I think as a director, I think he showed us like, here's all the info, but here's what I think is real. And so I like that he took that stance, but I like that he just really, he somehow managed to just do it all. And it was really impressive. The character stuff, the historical, the scientific, all of it was just there were so many levels on which this film works. And that was insane. And I think just in general, the filmmaking prowess that was on display in this movie, like unbelievable. I think you just look at, obviously Chris Nolan, but also his cast and crew, insane ensemble, insane script. I already said the editing, the sound design of the movie, unbelievable. The Ludwig Göransson score, oh my gosh! Like when I saw that Hans Zimmer wouldn't be available for this movie, I was like bummed about that because him and Chris Nolan do so much good work together. But Ludwig Göransson, who's like one of the best going right now, like that score was sick, and he just continues to do great things. So I knew we were in good hands there, but it really did pay off. This is why Chris Nolan, who has only been nominated for Best Directing Academy Award one time somehow, this is why he's one of the best going right now. I think probably top 3 of his era, and maybe higher before the it's all said and done. This is up there for his movies, and I'm giving it a 9.6 out of 10.
Beautiful score. Beautiful score. Christopher Nolan recently went on some sort of talk show or podcast, and he was talking about some of his favorite films, and one of his favorite comedies this is just funny, is Talladega Nights.
Yes.
He likes to play back Talladega Nights.
Same, brother. Same.
So we are the same. Like, you are a genius, but we all have some intermutual atoms in there somewhere. So thank you, Chris Nolan, and we're here to have a rewatch party with you anytime you want.
Yes.
My final thoughts on this film are that what I've said, it's a classic film. It's so beautiful. It's so painful. It's so the curveballs that you get in this film. It's not at all what I thought this film would be. We got glimpses of going into the movie. This is a horror movie. This is not a biopic. And like, yeah, you will be horrified at certain points. And the elements and the tricks that he pulls into this, and what he does with introductions to characters, and the way he just orchestrates them in Oppenheimer's life. I had no idea about the inner workings of Oppenheimer's personal life at all before this film. And it was very fascinating to watch everything come together. My final score on this, 9.5 out of 10 kernels.
Wow, close.
Very close.
Scores. Yeah, I mean, you said it, but instant classic. I think we're both in agreement on that.
No questions asked.
And the other thing we were both, kind of alluding to is that this movie transcends genre, and I think the classics do. They do transcend genre. I think the movies that really stick for all time, you can't pigeonhole them. You can't say this is a biopic, this is a drama, this is a comedy, this is a romance, whatever. They float somewhere in the gray, and this movie lived there, and it owned the gray. It was like I'm here and I'm happy, and it's just going to be its own thing, and that was really cool. So that's our review of both movies. Long episode, I know, but we're going to do one last fun activity before we leave, and that is a brand new segment called Podium. Let's get into it. What a lovely introduction that is to this brand new segment, Kirk. Here's how this is going to work.
Okay.
It's top three, essentially, just like a Olympics podium. 1, 2, 3. And if you want to decide at the end that yours, sometimes they share awards. They do like one person's in first place, but the other two are sharing third. That's fine. You can always disclose that later. But essentially what it is, we're going to go back and forth picking one movie. The topic is Christopher Nolan films, and you have to pick a top three, but if your movie gets mentioned by the other person, you cannot pick that film. Ready?
Yes.
So it'll essentially be gold, silver, bronze, and then you figure out who got left off the podium, more so than who was the top of the podium, because we'll figure that out first.
So there's 12 films on the table, 12 feature films by Christopher Nolan. And by my scorecard, do I get to go first, Cam?
You do, and I hate that. I hate it. It feels it was a rookie mistake by me. Will never happen again, but every dog has his day, so have at it.
That's right. I think you already know my answer to this one. My gold spot is going immediately and directly to Inception.
Really?
Clear and simple.
Wow.
I rewatch that movie frequently. I will watch it at 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm trying to go to bed. It gets my heart rate up. It's perfect to go to sleep to.
And then you don't know if you're asleep or if you're awake or if you're 3 levels deep or what have you. Okay.
That's right. I like that. I get my totem and I figure it out. Okay. But that is an all-time film for me.
I like it. I like it mostly because I don't think I have it in my top 3, perhaps. Okay. So I might be playing with house money here a little bit.
Oh.
My number 1, and this is hard because I did just give Oppenheimer a top score, and I wrestled with this for a long time. I'm still going with The Dark Knight. I'm going with The Dark Knight because I feel like that movie just changed the game. Because with Batman Begins, it was, well, he turned Batman into a drama. There was some criticism about that. Like, he used like a couple of very grounded villains in Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul and then Falcone and whatever. But number 2, it was like, now we're going to do the Joker. Now we're going to do Two-Face. Let's get comic booky on it. And he looked at a comic book movie in a way it's never been looked at before and changed the game forever, literally. Plus, obviously, amazing performances by Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, rest in peace, and many, 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 many others. So The Dark Knight, top of the podium for me.
Well, that's beautiful. You've knocked out one of mine. It wasn't going to be my next one.
Yeah.
But you did knock it out of my bronze spot. So
Take that.
Let the record show. Cameron's still doing
Bronze.
damage. It would have been my bronze.
Say it ain't. It's fine.
Because
It's okay.
Oppenheimer takes my silver.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You've heard all the reasons, and this is an incredible piece of art. Oppenheimer for the silver.
Oppenheimer for silver. Yeah, this is where it gets tough now.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it gets tough.
Do you need to smoke on this pipe?
I don't. I don't need that, but I am going to go... Oh, man, this is hard.
Have a puff.
No, I won't. I won't do it. I have...
One puff.
No, I won't. I have principles, Kirk. I am going to do... this is so hard. I am going to do Memento. I'm going to do Memento because I saw that movie very early on in my kind of like when I was like learning about good films, and I went through this era where I really liked psychological thrillers because that was kind of like the flavor of the day back when, like, you know, the mid 2000s. And I saw that movie. Again, it had this insane storytelling pattern to it, the same way that Oppenheimer kind of does. And I was like, this is sick. And it's got this mystery to it. A lot of his movies kind of find a way to incorporate mystery or thriller into it, but Memento is a true mystery. It's really well performed on all fronts. And yeah, I got to go with Memento. That may be like a surprise pick, but that's where I'm going.
Well, when you have 12 bangers here, it's
all bangers all the time.
It's anyone's up for grabs. My final pick for the bronze level of podium is very difficult. It is very difficult, but I must go with my gut and pick The Prestige.
Oh, that was on my list. That was what I was wrestling with.
Got you,
Kirk.
The Prestige, obviously the superior magician movie of its time versus The Illusionist. Sorry, Ed Norton. And what's Justin Timberlake's wife's name again?
Jessica Biel.
Yeah, The Prestige absolutely blew my mind. Saw it in theaters. Loved every second of it. Loved every twist and turn. It's a movie that made me rethink how I watch movies. Before that, I was like, wow, this is incredible. Now I try to guess movies as I'm watching them,
right.
but still in a fun way. Before it just absolutely, I mean, I almost fell out of my chair in the movie theater. So with the twist on that, so The Prestige gets my final spot.
All right. I would have picked it. And I thought that was like, I don't know. I thought that was, you know, little edgy. But you picked it, and so I guess I'm not as cool as I thought I was.
Wait. You thought it was edgy, and then I picked it, so it's not edgy? Hold on.
No, I was just saying, like, if other people also feel like it's a top 3 film, or in this case, I guess a top 5,
okay,
then maybe it's not. I'm not saying specifically you. I'm saying anybody else, Kirk.
Yeah, I hear
Don't take it
I hear your back
personally.
talking.
Don't take it personally. Okay, last one. This is tough, and I think people are going to absolutely annihilate me for this one.
Wait, I know what you're. I wish I had a piece of paper to like prove which one I think you're gonna guess.
Nope.
So I'm gonna type it. Hold on.
Yeah, type it. Yeah, that's proof. That's
my hands are away from my computer.
I'm choosing Dunkirk.
That's what I wrote.
Is it? Let me see.
It's way down here.
Yeah, it's Dunkirk. It's Dunkirk because Chris Nolan was just like, "Hey, hold my beer. I'm gonna make a war movie real quick," and it was awesome. An untold, a pretty much untold story on the silver screen. Amazing cinematography in that film. And last bit, just to make the haters angry, Interstellar, way overrated.
Stop it.
Massively overrated.
Stop it.
It's not on your list.
It's the next.
No,
in.
sure.
It
sure.
is.
Sure it is.
It is.
Sure it is, Kirk.
I mean it. I love that movie.
Dunkirk's better.
I disagree.
Well, then you're wrong. I'm just kidding. But I know people love that movie. I don't. I think it's good. I think it's great. I think all of his movies are really good. Even The Following. I mean, I like that movie too, Insomnia. Good movies, but
yeah, there's not a bad movie in here.
I said The Following. Isn't it just Following?
Just Following. Drop the just like
it's
Social
cleaner.
Network.
It's cleaner. Yeah, but no, that's my take. I think that Interstellar has been, I don't know what it is. Something about that movie. I think the score was really good. Matthew McConaughey was really good. There's a lot of good elements, but I think people think that movie is better than it actually is, and that's where I'm at.
That is your opinion.
It is.
And I have a different one, and that's okay.
And that's actually great.
And that's why we can sit here and discuss movies.
That's why it's great.
So what we dropped from the list that did not make the podium, we've got Following, Insomnia, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises,
I love Batman Begins.
Interstellar, and Tenet.
I like Tenet too. People hate on that movie a lot. I really liked it.
It's good. Just not top 3 podium good.
No, definitely not.
Well,
definitely not.
Everyone, thank you so much for our first review and albeit double review in the new studio, the new setup. We thank you so much for everything. We thank you for subscribing and liking and commenting. Make sure you do it for the wonderful giveaway that's happening. Like, subscribe, comment on this video. And we are going to talk to you next week about another film.
Talk to you then.